Hello! I'm just getting everything set up. It's autumn with StampingAVE, and I am excited to show you this bright, beautiful card. And we can go ahead and talk about the pieces that you're going to need. You may have seen this card already. Some of my customers received this as a little surprise. They hopefully got it all to go together, but let's talk about this pretty "You Make Me Happy" card. We certainly need some more of that in today's times. So what you need is your card base. There's my cheat sheet, and this is an 8.5 by 5.5, so half of a sheet of your cardstock, and then you're going to score it at the 4 1/4 and fold that up. You could certainly use the other direction. This one's the hamburger. You could use the hot dog if you want. So we'll just set this over. Your layer doesn't have to be white. Mine is. I thought it would coordinate and go well. I could have used another fun color. There's lots to pick from that coordinate. This is just the layer that's going to hold your designer paper on the front. If you have a dark cardstock base, you may also want one for the inside. This is 4 by 5 1/4. And then the designer paper, you can do it with one piece if it's double-sided. I recommend 3 or 4 patterns, so I have this one here, another one, and this is the one that we can cut together in just a second. We'll finish going over. I also have a focal point listed, so for this card it's the circle and the rainbow. You can do a sentiment as your focal point if you choose, and I'll be doing this one, and these cute little clouds will add to that. So we are going to start by cutting our designer paper. Now if you're going to use just the one paper, you really want to make sure the direction that you want your card to go. With this being horizontal, we're gonna cut the 6 by 6 piece. We're gonna trim off 1 inch from here so that we'll have the 5 inches. Again, your designer paper is the 5 inch by 3 3/4. Okay. I'll show you all of the papers from this beautiful Sunshine and Rainbows. So this is a free Sale-A-Bration item, and that's kind of my theme that I'm going with this month, is just showing you some of the freebies and how they go with what's in the catalog. So rainbow on one side, simple cute patterns on the other side, and you can do it with 1 or 2 papers, and I'll show you what the difference is. This one's going to make more than one card the way that I have it set up to go. Bring in my cutter, and like I said, we're going to start with the 5 inch trim. So line that up, and certainly save that scrap for another day. And then the other direction is the 3 3/4. We'll set these scraps aside so we don't get confused, because we get a few pieces here going. And then what we're gonna do is cut this in at 1 1/2. And honestly, you can use truly whatever cross dimensions you want to, as long as you cut all your papers the same so your pieces can be interchangeable. And then we're going to rotate that and do 1 1/4 on both pieces. And then we can slide this out of the way. And now we're gonna start to piece our card front together the way we want it. If you have multiple designer papers, if they're single or double-sided, it really doesn't matter. But I have these that we can interchange. The nice thing, this one doesn't work to go either way, because then those sunshines are upside down. I guess you could move them like that. That doesn't matter, does it? Cool. Then I can use both sides of that one. And what you can do is mix and match. I really like this as my big one, and I'm gonna try to copy my card as far as the biggest rectangles there, the long skinny one down at the bottom, and then the smallest piece on the top left, and this one, well, I don't know if you call that one the medium rectangle. I guess we could go with that. So there's my big piece. I'm gonna see if I can, oh, that's kind of cute, that polka dot. Does that look okay? It's a different stripe than that, but I think it will probably work. You can play around depending on if you have flowers, stripes, if you want them going up and down. I think I'm going to pull the trigger on this one as my option, but you can see that I chose 3 pattern papers, and I'm going to be able to do 3 card fronts with that, or I can save my scraps if I don't like that. So we'll adhere these pieces to our layer that we have, and for this, because I just want to have a little freedom to move things around, I am still using my multi-glue, and that's just because you can kind of slide things around. So it is a small base layer that you're gonna, or an outside layer, that you'll be able to see how you can shift it, and then we'll just build around that one. What's nice is it really works well with so many papers that Stampin' Up! Has. Even if you have a holiday paper, Stampin' Up! Really tries to make a difference with how they think about their paper. The one side might be your Christmas pattern, if you will, and then the other side is more of a traditional stripe or just a regular print. So now we have that built up, and we're going to add our focal point. We can go ahead and get started with that. I just took another piece of the paper, and I'm going to cut this rainbow out by hand to put on and cover up kind of where all those seams come together. So start with the circle, and you don't have to use a circle. You can add dimensionals as you like. This kind of helps make it doable if you had a little bit of some wiggle room when you were cutting. It covers up your human nature and maybe an oops here or there. I'm gonna kind of set that up, and once I stamp, I'm gonna cover up that seam a tad so we won't see what's going on here. It looks a little busy. and I can go ahead and grab the clouds. This is a good time that we're going to use those mini dimensionals. Like I said last time, my dimensionals are my favorite. Certainly not the minis, because they're really, really teeny tiny and sometimes too hard for my getting fat fingers. So let's add one cloud that way. Uh-oh. What do I do? How do I cover these? There, that cloud could be like that. There we go. Now those are on there. We'll bring in, you can use a bigger piece, or if your sentiment is your focal point, that works perfect too. So we're gonna use the coordinating stamp set, which is Rainbow of Happiness. And I'm using the You Make Me Happy with the Memento Black. And then I think I'm just gonna make, instead of the square, I'm gonna make these just a diagonal. And then I will just glue that down with my glue. Really, I should have probably put the glue on my small piece. And let that set there. And then we can go ahead and grab our base, fold that up, get that ready for our front, and we'll adhere that. And now you have two different looking cards with the same basic idea. I also did a couple of other options that I'll give you a second here to take a look at once I move these out of the way. I used different paper, different ideas, and I even went a little crazy and switched the direction, especially on this one. So we have Thank You for Everything on there. This one is just a flower, so you could really do anything on the inside there. Another Thank You for Everything. So these three use the same designer paper. And this one is a little bit different with the expressions in ink, and just punched out hello instead of using a die cut on the cut and emboss machine. And then these ones all use the same designer series paper, the Pansy Petals, and the stamp set is the Color and Contour. This one I added some of those new iridescent gems, and they are gorgeous. They really can be almost any color depending on what paper you're using. So that is the fun that I had. I used these interchangeably. You can see this is the same pattern, this is the same pattern, and followed the template of alternating big, small, big, small. So that's what I have to show you today. It's a great way to use up your little pieces. You don't necessarily have to start with the big 5 by 3 3/4, but it does work great for the 6 by 6 paper like the Sunshine and Rainbows. And then next week we are gonna take a look at a different Sale-A-Bration product, and that is the Marvelous paper, also a 6 by 6. And this is one of the cards that we will work on next week. it is really fun to just stamp on your designer paper. I forget to do that all the time. I'm always looking for a white scrap, but you don't need that. You can stamp on your designer paper. I hope you'll join me next week and see this fabulous paper in action. I really appreciate all of the support from last week and the kind words that I got, and I look forward to continuing to share these creations with you as we go on week by week. If you have some things you want to add, I would love to hear what your thoughts are. So have a great day and happy stamping. We'll talk to you next week.